You and your spirit guides. You. All right, so there's a communication coming through for one person. I've been interacting with this energy. It's very sweet. But I think that a lot needs to be, like, there's a lot that needs to be said, and then a lot needs to be said. So I'm going to just do a quick reading here on TikTok. If you recognize this as your story, if it resonates in a really deep way, I would be shocked if this was for more than one person. Then I'm actually gonna do the reading here and then just run over, do the reading and put it up on YouTube, because there's a lot that wants to come through, and I'm just gonna bring it through because I'm trying to get some work done, trying to take a break from TikTok. I got something I gotta do. But this is on my heart and I need to unload it, so I'm gonna do it. So let's just do this. Okay, this is a real insistent energy that wants to communicate with you. Let's just see where this takes us. It's like a haunting. It doesn't really, it's like a baseline haunting. Let's just move this up over here. I'm gonna pull the cards up before I talk about them. And let's just take a look at what's happening. This person feels that there is a lot to say to you. There's a lot that hasn't been said, and the mutual lack of trust that isn't really warranted. There's so much stuck, and there's so much that is stuck, and it just feels like this energy wants to show you that there's a way out of the stuck. And looking at these cards, there's not a path forward that is grounded. Like, it can live in a sort of dreamy sort of space, but there's not a path forward that is grounded because there's a lot of responsibilities. And the desire for the passion that would fuel a new beginning is thwarted by the fact that both parties seem to understand that a level of healing and a need for a healthy way of being in the world around this issue is required. That's why there's just not a lot of balance. So planning a way forward is confusing because the communication has been, I want to say, non-existent. It was always bad. It was always a strange kind of communicating. But there's a lot that needs to be said. The social stuff is kind of, there's so much that needs to be said to you about the social dynamics around how everything happened that created what looks like a lot of manipulation. And that's what's just here in the cards. Okay, so you found your way here. I am having such a hard time doing this. I didn't think I was going to, because I set this intention that said, okay, I want to hold space for this energy to come through with the message that it wants to deliver. And the energy is really pure and sweet and wanting to relay information in a way that seems to make a funny kind of sense. It's a... I started with the tarot cards and I had to stop because the energy was overwhelming. So I'm working with the oracle cards to begin with, and we're just going to move our way towards the tarot cards. There's a beautiful metaphor in, I think it's like water for chocolate, where, and this is basically what this energy is feeling like to me. It's like when a pot is about to boil over. Yeah, that's basically how I put it. So I was going to do a format, and I tried to do a format because this message is so unruly. And I became nervous, in the time it took me to put the tablecloth on, I started to feel really, really picking up on the energy, in anticipation, becoming more and more and more nervous. And so I'm trying to kind of work my way out of that, because that's hard for me to channel a little bit. So let's just pull some cards. Okay. The Visionary. All right, I'm just going to put that there and get one more. Oh my goodness. started as feeling very playful and goofy, and it got kind of heavy. I think because my intention is for something really beautifully honest to come forward. And this energy is nervous about that. So let's go ahead. Okay. So the cool thing about these cards is that they're archetypes, and you know, that's story, consciousness. I think that consciousness is story. I think that that's like the evolutionary quirk, that we became storytellers and meaning makers, and that was consciousness. And that's just, I don't know, that I don't know why that came through, but it did. But these cards, they have light attributes and shadow attributes, meaning that when they're in their light attribute, you've kind of mastered this lesson. And when it's in its shadow attribute, this is where things can go wrong with that lesson. And so I'm going to read the stuff, and then I'm going to interpret through it. And to the extent that I'm hearing like foggy, like I'm seeing TV and I'm seeing static, and to the extent that I'm seeing static, like I'm also seeing the dial turn and like land on specific channels that come through clear. So something, whoever is going to resonate with this is going to know what the heck that is about, and everybody else, it's going to be gibberish. And so this is also kind of a divining rod for you as to whether or not this is your reading. It's just like if this feels and sounds right. Okay. So with the visionary, yeah, I'm hearing you have to, there's a route. I'm seeing a map and there's a route. Okay, so somebody knows what the fuck that means too. I don't. Anyway, the intensity is such that I've just cursed and not on purpose. So there we go. With this visionary card, I'm just going to read it. The light attribute is the capacity to envision what is not yet conceivable to others, willingness to proclaim a vision without regard for personal gain. The shadow attribute of this quality is selling insights to the highest bidder, compromising your vision to make it more acceptable. And so we're starting, and this is in a past position, with the shadow attribute of visionary. The bridge is this mystic card here. The light attribute being revels in intimate union with the divine. Shadow being delusional rapport with the divine. But this is in its upright position. So this is like what's bridging the past to the present is really this spiritual energy right here. And that's kind of where we're going to start things, and we'll move into the tarot cards. I tried to start with them, and it was very intense for me, so the healer in its light attribute is a passion to serve others by repairing the body, mind, and spirit, and ability to help transform pain into healing. And its shadow attribute is taking advantage of those who need help, failing to care for oneself. So the reason I wanted to start with the archetype cards is because I thought it would be like that it would contain a lot. And since this energy has like, I'm having a hard time sort of gauging where to begin interpreting some of the stuff that's coming through. And I thought that this was like a good way that it's like broad, really, really broad. So we're in this like mystical moment. So let's be in this mystical moment. Let's actually let this moment be mystical as AF. Let's let it be really like, allow yourself, you know, the person who is like, I'm feeling the resonance. So the person who is resonating with what's going on, allow yourself to step into the space of a mystic for the duration of what we're doing. It's somehow important, and I'm not sure yet how. But this energy wants to convey to you that there's a sense in which I'm hearing like gifts. These are gifts that both parties have, and both parties are have been like within the reverse. This means we've been working, like each party, I'm hearing working through like the ups and downs of these qualities, sort of like moving into the light attribute of the quality and the dark attribute of the quality. And so there's basically, I want to start the reading by saying, like, there are, if you want to picture a chessboard, there's a lot of pieces of chessboard pieces. There's a lot of chess pieces on the board. But for the purposes of being a mystic in this situation and for seeing things clearly, this energy is saying to see things clearly, to be able to, like, I'm hearing, okay. So like, we're all addicted to our own ways of thinking. It's like one of the traps that we sort of step into. And so moving into this mystic space is sort of saying, it's spirit's way. Okay, so I'm getting a lot of information, and you know what? Yeah, I'm just gonna keep on going. Be a mystic for the course of this, and I'm gonna try and pull the most honesty imaginable, like, through, because there's a lot of information, there's a lot of static, and this energy has a specific message. And so we're just going to work with what is going to be the beginning of saying, there's actually no piece of chess on the chessboard that isn't somehow implicated in a web of misunderstanding, basically. All right, so that's I guess the starting point. So I'm going to move these out of the way, and I'm going to grab some. Let's start with the tarot cards. Let's just get into it. Let's see, put this over here. Okay. So let's look at let's see if we can see the past position and clear up something about a past position between two energy. Well, this is one energy speaking to an energy. Wait, one energy directing information, one energy directing oh gosh, my tongue keeps on getting tied. This is the most dramatically difficult reading I've ever tried to do, oddly. All right, let's start with the past position. Tongue. I've never actually been tongue-tied before. This is the first time I've felt like my tongue tied itself. Weird. So let's start from a past position. And let's look for a misunderstanding and make sense of it, is basically what I'm sort of getting here. And let's see what happens. This energy is something about an experiment. Let's look at the past. Okay, so I'm hearing the word mystic, and then I'm hearing the weirdest thing. Let me look at this for a second. Two very beautiful spirit guides. I'm hearing two new angels. Oh, look at that. So I'll try to move things into the frame as we go along. It might be a little sloppy. So with the Knight of Pentacles and the Nine of Cups in reverse, this is feeling like a certain kind of disappointment, but I'll get to it in a second. So this spread relating to the past is about watching your ships come back in. And so this bottom of the deck energy, which is basically what we're talking about here with this past position. Sorry, I need to take a drink of water. So this this is watching your ships come in, all the effort that you put into things, what you sort of like had, you know, the path that you had charted forward in order to like reap a benefit in the, you know, on the returning vessel. Like this is what this is about. This is you watching the ship and waiting for those ships to come in. Like you can see them. It's not like that they're not there. You can see them, but you're waiting for them to come into the harbor. And so something about where you put your energy in the past, this reading is related to that, and the return being something or nothing. And the way that I'm looking at this is, there was a really solid path that was charted forward, and there were so many ways in which that solid path got thwarted that had nothing to do with, I'm hearing, the players. I mean, there's a word that starts with D. It's like, it's very close to disappointment, but it's something else. Like, what is that? It's disappointment, but it's such a bad disappointment. It's such a brutal disappointment. It's such a series of brutal disappointments, basically. And so that series of brutal disappointments was on that path forward. So it was a solid path. It was a path that had, you know, that was like well laid, but the landmines along the way were just crushing. And so then what happened next is, I'm going to do like basically I'm dealing with the archetypes, and I will try to like bring as much of the interpretive, the intuitive information through after I just set the foundation, because the energy is very impatient for certain like detailed things, and I have to be broad at first. So let's just do this. So the Four of Pentacles is really about like holding like it's there's a not enough. It's like when you're holding on to something so tight and there's not enough of it, and clinging. You know, this is really a card of clinging to this mentality that there's like not enough help, or not enough cooperation, or not enough this, or not enough that. And as a result, like instead of communication, there was just strategy. And oh, man, so around the area of crushing disappointment, we see the path really fall apart at strategy. And I'm going to pull more cards on what all of this means in a second. But this, you know, the King of Pentacles in the upright is really speaking of, this is somebody who's really established. This is someone who's established in their home. This is, you know, I often think of the King of Pentacles as being that like husband sort of a position, head of the household kind of a vibe. Not gender specific, but, you know, energy specific. So, you know, with this in the reverse, you know, along with this card here, this is the card of victory after a long fight. So both of these, this is such a disempowered situation. And let me just keep on moving from there, because, you know, what you're going to recognize, whatever is resonating, obviously. I'm not totally understanding, but, you know, it's very clear here that there's tremendous loss, and it seems like it was in three main areas, all at once. The Two of Wands and the Six of Wands in reverse, this is about planning your way forward. And so the Two of Wands is about planning your way forward. I mean, this is the way that this comes through for me. And also the Six of Swords is about like going from stormy, choppy water into a calmer sea, like big emotions that are unmanageable to emotions that become, you know, manageable in the calm. That's sort of the foundation. That's what we're starting with here. And so I want to take, I want to get some clarifying cards, and I want to look at this path forward, and I want to look at these crushing disappointments, and not too closely. The clinging and I think where everything really falls apart is strategy, because the lack of communication just led to strategy. I mean, that's kind of what a lack of communication does. It leads to strategy from all parties. That's what I'm seeing here. Without any communication, the only way to feel like there is you strategize to sort of have some idea of what the hell's going on. That's like a normal response to a lack of communication. The question is, what is the problem with this communication? Like, where, you know, why was it's like the disappointments were shared, but each person's disappointment was very unique to them and their position. And it's interesting because I don't know whether I'm talking about, yeah, it seems like I'm talking about an individual and a situation. So let's go ahead and get clarification. So path, disappointments. I want to look at the strategy where the communication broke down and became strategy. I want to just go back to like what needed to be said. So let's just get some cards on that. You know, not only is this about strategy, it's also about internal conflict. And part of what causes so much internal conflict is when you're not left with enough information, you're left with having to interpret everything. Okay, let me get some more cards. I mean, there's problems with this energy is basically really wanting to like kind of stop me in my tracks right now and just say like focus on the fact that there was a problem with the lack of a communication. It wasn't just about, you know, on a need to know basis. Hold on. I definitely like didn't think about having enough water with me, but let's like the problem with the lack of a communication is that it was unintentionally reckless on everyone's part, I think. So this is a group. I think I'm talking about a group. And so clearing this up is really important. There's a healing that can happen as a result of it, I think. Because at the end of the day, there's a beautiful picture. It's just obscured by a lot of... We'll just see. Let's just keep going. This reading is riveting for me, by the way. Anyone whoever this is resonating for, like, I'm as a reader, like, I'm fascinated with whatever is happening here. Not because I'm able to sort of translate the information as well as I'd like to, but because the intensity that I'm feeling it is, well, it's pretty intense. I don't know how else to put it. Let's keep going. So we get a little bit more information on clarification around the strategy and the communication here. Okay. So we've got, this is the Knight. So really the reading is talking about this Knight of Cups energy in the reverse. And so in this deck, this is the Urban, yeah, I think it's Urban Tarot. In this deck, the Knight of Cups is labeled as the seducer. And so in the upright position, this is somebody who is offering a pure and innocent love. You know, in the reverse, this is the seducer, essentially. And so that's what this is talking about. It's talking about the difference between seduction and actual connection. And so with the Queen of Cups and the Knight of Wands, you have two energies here that are actually very different, especially like with this deck. So just give me like a second. I want to sit here and try and take this in so that I can see where this is going exactly. I'm hearing lots of cooks I'm hearing lots of cooks in the kitchen. Thwarted agendas. But when I see this Queen of Cups, I'm really drawn to her. She's striking me as frail. And And there's the sneaker here, you know, so in this deck, it's, you know, that it's labeled the therapist. But what I always see the Queen of Cups, this is somebody who's very maternal, very emotionally intelligent, very nurturing, beautiful, really beautiful energy. But this card, what I'm seeing is a reserve. So let me see if I can try and explain this. So this energy says, I'm going to give you a peek behind the eyes of this Queen of Cups, and you know who this is. I don't, yeah. You know who this is. So yeah, the perspective here, you know, with this person looking at that person, that's significant. So it's like there's somebody who's been observed but not understood, essentially. And there's a good reason for it. And so I'm going to come through with what is now going to be intuition. This Queen of Cups is reserved, not because she's, and I'm going to use gender, it's not gender, it's energy. This Queen of Cups is reserved because of the intense level of frailty that is actually that is what has created the emotional intelligence. And I'm hearing, let me just like a saccharine sweetness, but that really translated to like begging for mercy. And that was the frailty. And because this was like, there was no back and forth communication, there was like no exploring anything or talking about anything. It was a one-way communication. And so all, like, you know, the whole of the experience of what was going on and the lack of knowledge of what was going on came from this Knight of Wands position. Now, the Knight of Wands is a really dynamic energy, very creative. It's like an inspired, you know, wands are like inspired, it's fire. It's like it's a fast-moving, intense energy. It's a creative energy, but it's often unruly. And especially with like the Page and the Knights, you get sort of like a flash of inspiration, but then you never finish the thing, kind of a sort of, or, you know, the person is, you know, incredibly attracted to somebody and then like they run away, kind of a thing. It's almost a fickle energy in a way until it hits, you know, a certain maturity. And so one of the main misunderstandings is just that these two energies are in completely different places. And what I'm hearing is that no one is guilty in that kind of a situation. In a situation where two people are in such complete and total opposite positions, where there is only one-way communication and there's no comprehension or understanding, I'm hearing you're so intuitive. You're so unbelievably intuitive. You almost skip the step of exploring. And so, but more than that, kind of the point of like looking at this past position and looking at all of the disappointments and seeing where a solid path forward kind of fell apart. You know, we are looking at two completely different energies in two completely different realms that do not in any way, like, that are not connecting, not really. And so I'm hearing again, like, there's no guilty party. That's not the kind of a problem that the lack of communication caused. Because there's something with this Knight of Wands that is also, you know, from the perspective of this, you know, like this reserved emotional intelligence, it's almost the observer, really. From this position of the observer, you know, the Knight of Wands has their own frailty like in the form of being unapproachable. So, and that's a kind of being unapproachable is a kind of frailty. Just, it's not often seen that way, but it is. So with the Princess of Wands in reverse and the High Priestess in reverse over this Four of Pentacles and this Five of Wands, this part makes me want to cry. So I don't know what this is. I don't know what this energy is. I don't know what is coming through. But for whoever this is resonating for, like, this is a part that I'm going to take it slow trying to get through this. It's bringing up emotions. It's really weird. I kind of didn't expect to be sitting here like having a choked up throat. This seems like this feels like an overwhelmingly sad energy. Let's just start there. So going from like nobody is guilty into I'm having trouble like getting this out for some reason. I'm having trouble channeling this. It's not easy. So give me a second. I'm drawn to the locks on this fence. And I'm hearing like this is a person who's trying to hold everything together. And I'm also hearing that both energies in this equation were doing this in their own way. But so the motivations were identical. Just trying to hold things together. Didn't matter what the outcome was, just like hold it together. Because what I'm hearing is it's of course, you know, these individual energies, and when I mean holding it together, I mean like there was what feels like shitstorms in every direction for both this Queen of Cups energy and this Knight of Wands energy. And so there was just there was not enough energy or bandwidth to hold together anything at that point. And so the Princess of Wands in reverse is where things got really nasty, actually. And things did get really nasty. They didn't have to. I'm going to pull more cards on this. Just give me a second. They didn't have to. But I want to talk about that a little bit. I'm hearing a weird thing, and I'm like, I'm like burpy. It's strange. This is a very strange message that's coming through, but you never want one of your enemies to be somebody who knows you better than you know yourself, or not better than you know yourself, like somebody that close. You never want that person talking anything about you. And so there's something here that I want to talk about in relation to this distorted energy. The root goes back to a communication from outside of this Queen of Cups, Knight of Wands dynamic, wherein I got to get more information. I don't know yet. Just give me a second. This is interesting. This is so specific, which is what I thought, you know, when I did the first TikTok, like, you know, that energy that had been, and I wasn't able to like really turn it off. I tried. It was weird. Like, I think this is one person, and I'm happy to do this because obviously it's important. That said, the disclaimer is do not make decisions based on readings that you see online that are not one-on-one, because there's no way to ensure that your intuition is your compass. Everyone else's intuition is often guidance and like helping you see things in different ways. But ultimately, you have to be able to trust your intuition and look for confirmation when you're having trouble with that. So this is the Ace of Pentacles in reverse. This is, again, the Ace of Pentacles is a grounded gift from the divine. Faded usually, I see it always as like the path that was like, that's faded. But in the reverse, like this growth didn't really, the path is kind of ended at the top of this little, so anyway, moving on to this distorted energy around this nastiness with the Princess of Wands in reverse. There was like, okay, so I babbled, I'm babbling, I can't help it. There's an influence. That's what I was trying to convey. Like this energy is trying to show me triangulation. This energy is showing me triangulation. And then I'm seeing like a bunch of triangles like spinning all around. So it's just really interesting. Like, I'm almost seeing like a pinball. Yeah. What is that? Like old-fashioned sort of pinball thing. And the ball bounces back and forth. And it just filled with like these triangles. And there's a lot of triangulation that was happening. And so the influence, what sparked, where was like the beginning of the path of where things went from just like weird, not understanding, like being in totally different places, everybody's innocent, like, and it's difficult trying to hold things together, to nastiness. Well, this is so difficult to express, but you have this other influence, you have this triangulation, and you have this triangulation that is happening wherein this energy is saying like information got back to, okay, so now I'm seeing a ping pong match, like serve, 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 serve. And so let's start with the first serve. It's an outside influence, and I'm hearing that this is an outside influence that how do I do this? Someone who knew exactly how to, I'm hearing like precision, like how to start this in the wrong direction and with precision. And so now I'm just going to say a phrase, and I don't know where it's coming from. And again, whoever this is for, you'll recognize it because it's super specific. But the phrase is, didn't you know that you were the butt of every other joke? And that everyone thought you were, and then fill in the blank. Everyone thought you were a, and fill in the blank. I don't know what the fuck that means, honestly. But what I will say is that you do see from the perspective that there was no comprehensive understanding going forward from that point. I'm hearing there's no one to trust at that point. And so strategy became the only way forward. Now, what I love about these two cards is that these feel lighter to me. This is heavy, difficult stuff to talk about. But this feels like way less heavy to me. And one of the reasons that this feels way less heavy to me is because this card represents growth. And this card over here really represents a kind of internal solitary growth that comes, it's like your inner, your journey in, and like then it's like a spiritual guiding you from within. I have to get, I need another card. Hold on, let me just, oh, you know what? Before I do that. So I also want to look at this High Priestess in reverse. So the High Priestess in the upright is somebody whose intuition is right on point, who follows their intuition, and it's really solid and everything is, the compass is working correctly. In reverse, not at all. This is sort of doubting everything, you know, and having an almost impossible time seeing your way forward. So that things became about strategy was both it was incited. It was like, I want to say gaslighted, but it was incited. But it didn't, yeah, but I'm also hearing that it didn't go anywhere. The idea was that it was supposed to, and it didn't. And the reason that it didn't is because of this Empress energy right here. And I'm going to get some Oracle cards. Because I think that this is a big part of what this energy wants to get through to you, is that what is that? Okay, so the interesting thing about this strategy card is that you need to understand that I gotta just like listen for a second. Yeah, this energy wants to make it really clear to you that there was no premeditated strategy. It was strategy in motion. And again, like if you can picture the pinball machine with all of the triangles spinning, yeah, it wasn't particularly conscious. Yeah, let me just keep going. The Empress energy, really, like, there's something here. Boundaries. All right. Let me keep going. I need another card. And creative luck. On the bottom of the deck, we've got passion. So that the bottom of the deck is like talking about what is this, you know? Yeah. This was the reason that nothing ever came of this, was because even though there were triangles spinning and information like that just sucked, and so, you know, you've got on this side, you've got reactions that are proportional and that make sense in the way of responding to what essentially like felt like so mean. That's what I'm feeling. Yeah, this energy is like, it's very heavy, you know? In response to this, you know, you have stuff that makes sense, and then you have stuff that's just like birthday vengeance, for lack of a better way of putting it. So, but with this Empress, you know, you have boundaries and you have creative luck. And I'm hearing like, there's nothing that came of, let me just get a drink of water. I'm hearing no weapon formed against, yeah, there's a Bible verse, no weapon formed against me will prosper. This energy ensured that no weapon would prosper, right? And it wasn't hard to do. You know, there was no trick to it. I'm hearing like, I'm seeing like various, like I'm hearing like, you know, the emphasis is on simplicity. Because this energy, and this is an energy, I'm actually picking up on this energy as being the energy that I'm channeling. So this energy, this energy did you no harm. That wasn't the right phrase. Let me just like sit with that for a second. This was a harmless energy. Inherently harmless. It just was. To that verse, the weapon formed against not prospering verse. There was an action that was taken that was, I'm not sure what it is, obviously I'm just channeling, but there was an action that was taken to ensure that boundaries were respected. Now, moving on, I want to look at, I don't think I really need to look too much at like why, with this King of Pentacles in reverse and this Victory in reverse, you know, this is just a collapse. Like I'm seeing like almost like the Tower moment. The energy just got really quiet, so just bear with me on the pace, because this is not going to be paced in a sane way at all. Gosh, it's 43 minutes already. Okay, so how are we going? What is this? What else needs to come through this message? All right, so let's like look at the present just a little bit, using this deck. Okay, I'm just gonna get a card to sort of represent, a couple cards to represent each of you in the present. One energy to the other. So let's just see. Okay. Yeah, I just picked up the pile that kind of fell over because, you know, we have Judgment, we have the Lovers, and we have Three of Swords. And so, you know, this is about this is a decision. This is like an edict almost. Judgment has been cast. You know, the Lovers card is about a choice between what is familiar and what will have you grow. And the Three of Swords is what it looks like. This is excruciating heartbreak. You know, you've got the bottom of the deck energy is like, and I don't know, yeah, no, it's upright. Bottom of the deck energy is the Fool. So this is a new beginning. So, you know, where the present is right now is just like a whole new beginning. And, you know, each of these cards represents one of your energies. Yeah, as far as just not planning a way forward and the chaos, I think that's related to these three cards. And I'm going to just pull these off because I'm going to talk about these in a second. You know, this Two of Swords is it's a position of where's the road? Where is the road? I don't see a way forward, and it's like the road stopped. And there's also, I am protecting myself. That's another thing. You know, the traditional Two of Swords, that like the person can't see, and they're aware of the fact that they can't see their way forward, and so they have the two swords up, like, you know, protecting them. So this is a protective stance as well, is what's coming through for me. This Nine of Pentacles is just like very single, very independent. This is like an admired kind of an energy, but it's like just it's like the single, independent, happy person sort of energy. So for the present, I'm going to keep pulling cards to clarify those two. This is such an emotionally correct reading. I'm just going to let it run as long as it needs to. How's that? That works. Oh, wait, I should be. Okay, let's look at the present since we looked at the past. Let's look at the present. The energies, there's a message coming through. Let me see if I can catch it. There's no, I'm hearing harmless again, and I'm hearing something about a statement. That, like, from a perspective, this energy is saying from a removed perspective, it kind of makes sense and it's almost funny. But from a close perspective, you know, the person who's receiving this reading, whoever this is resonating for, this energy is very much trying to convey to you a sense of, if the communication had been even like a fraction, 2%, that it wouldn't have left, like, hold on, let me just grab the water. There wouldn't have been an opportunity for any of the triangles to spin if there had been honest communication. And I'm hearing that, like, this is something that a lot of guilt exists. So the present is at least nicer. Let's get some more cards. Bottom of the deck is oppression, and this is the only time I like to see the card like this. I like to see it upside down. And, you know, I like to see this in reverse because this is moving out of that place. You know, and I'm really feeling like, what was the oppression? I'm seeing a picture. It's a photograph. I guess it's a photograph of a sketch, and it's like a sketch of a large book, and it says, "What I meant to say was," as the title of the book. And so, you know, this is like a release of this for this energy anyway. And so this is kind of what this is about here. You know, clarifying the sort of where is everything right now. It's you know, it's a combination of coming out of this place where there was a lot of inner growth, and a lot, you know, this is the Hermit card, and it's sort of like guided by that inner spark, sort of like your spirituality is the light in which you're following, but it's a very solitary card. So it's like coming out of that solitary space. And the Two of Cups is the I see you, you see me, we understand each other, there's a click, you know, it's a very positive, like, you know, and right here it's like, this is a good alchemy of seeing things clearly, seeing yourself in the other person and them seeing themselves in you. So that's like a much better, the present is much better than like what we were looking at in the past, where there was a lot of triangulation and, you know, from external circumstances, and there was a whole lot of, there were shitty things that were said, and they were in reaction to, they weren't, yeah, this is an important thing. This energy says, like, there was no strategy in any of that. But where everything got, like, you know, where there was some nastiness, it was in reaction to that. Like, but it was very quickly course corrected. Very quickly course corrected. So let's just keep going. We've got the Nine of Swords. This is the card of like anxiety and like freaking out and like fear and worry and like uncomfortable nightmares, not being able to sleep well. You know, in the reverse, this is like acceptance and like finding a level of peace. And so, you know, in the present we have that. But, you know, with the Magician in the reverse for me is always about manipulation. But this doesn't feel like bad. This just feels like wanting to be seen the way you want to be seen. Like and that's well, you know, it's a way in which we like try to control our environments, is that we want to be seen in our own right instead of allowing someone and allowing ourselves to experience being seen more than anything else. So, and I'm hearing this, you know, the energy is like kind of explaining like this is both parties have this same wanting to be seen in their own right kind of structure. And so, you know, this isn't so much like a manipulation born of like, you know, trying to, like, you know, this isn't like villainous. This is just how, like, it's almost like the present is, you know, a moment yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I don't really know. I don't have much more on that. But you know, the 5 of Coins in reverse, this is a really good sign, actually. There's a lot of alleviated discomfort with this in reverse. So even though there's like not, I feel like this one says like you could, neither one of these energies, like not the energy that's I'm channeling and not the energy that is receptive to this, that neither of these energies actually knows each other very well. I think that is kind of like the biggest thing. There's something else, you know, but in terms of knowing one another well enough that trust even exists, because there was a weird thing, you know, something that I don't know what it is, but there was a weird thing. This 5 of Coins is just like, it's a reversal of this feeling of being left out in the cold. It's a reversal of this feeling of abandonment. And this is a terrifying feeling as well. And so what we're seeing here with this card in reverse is like an alleviation of that. So right now things are feeling peaceful. And you know, this is fascinating to me. And I think I'm just gonna like dial in a little bit, because this is one of the more interesting parts, is that there seems to be this like simultaneous to there being this not knowing one another like enough to know how to approach them in a way that like, I don't even know what that, but this feels like a not knowing each other somehow. And this feels like a knowing each other at like, but in the way that like you see yourself in them and they see yourself in, like there's this knowing and there's this clicking at the same time. There's also this, okay, that's what Spirit is showing me. It's just the surface deep understanding of one another is just surface deep. And the surface deep understanding with each other is great. It's a good positive energy, but there's where there's not like the tools of connecting properly. There's so much more to know, basically. That's a really big deal. Like there's so much more to know. With this not moving forward and like not wanting to enter a chaotic sort of environment, that's what I'm seeing here with the 2 of Wands and then 6 of Swords in reverse. You have a choice, but this is interesting. So the Judgment card is actually about like this is judgment from on high. It's not even your, I mean, it can be your judgment, or it can be a judgment call that was made somewhere else that is, you know, sort of has power over you. But like this way that I always interpret this is like the angel of judgment. So there's a choice. And so when I see this, you know, the angel of judgment has spoken. There's a decision that has been made about, you know, wrong or right, like yes or no. So this is like not, this energy is saying like, this is not a decision, that either party made. This is the decision that was made. At the same time, there is a decision to be made, and that is what the Lover's card again is always speaking of. If like you go back to like the nitty gritty of the archetypal meaning, it's like, do you leave home or do you stay? Like, you know, do you leave your parents and go out on a journey, or do you stay home? Kind of a feeling with this card. And there's but there's always choice involved. Sometimes it's choice between 2 people, but in this instance, I'm just going with the archetypal meaning because I really don't know what to say. other than there's a decision that is made in relation to this not moving forward and this not wanting chaos that is just from on high, you know, and at the same time, there's also a personal decision to be made because of the heartbreak that exists. And there's a lot of heartbreak that exists. This is a very, very painful card. So let me get a couple more cards. I'm not going to drag this out too much longer, but I did want to, there were just like, this energy wasn't going to leave me alone. And so I just wanted to appease, because this is a very emotional, there's a lot of emotion coming through with all of this. I'm just trying to think if there's a question that I can ask that will sort of like round out everything else that came through. Let's just do some oracle cards. Let's pull some oracle cards and just see what comes from those oracle cards, and if there's anything else that Spirit wants to bring through. And then we're going to close it, because again, this is a message for a person. So there's a lot about this reading that's actually even a mystery to me. So let's just shuffle these and see what happens. I'm hearing there's unconditional positive. Yeah, I'm hearing there's unconditional positive regard. Yeah, so I was looking at this Queen of Cups card, and I heard unconditional positive regard, and it's confusing, is what this energy is saying. It's actually, you know, it's like a positive thing. It's a nice thing. It's very confusing. Let's see what we get. Perception. Okay, let me get one more. This energy, the energy is sort of, there's like a despondency around, like, you know, I don't. Let's see if I can listen for a second. The bottom of the deck, the bottom of the deck is communication. And so, you know, I think, you know, in conclusion, what Spirit is bringing through is, you know, I think we can, there's an ability to sort of like bullet point a couple things here. One is, there's no guilty party. Two is, the nastiness was on a lot of different fronts and a lot of different directions, and it surrounded the relational dynamic. For some reason, that's just the way that things happen. And there was just like when you see the pinball machine, you know, there was a bouncing off. And I think that the truth is, this is true for both individuals. And yeah, this energy is saying yes. So this is true. This is the ball that is bouncing from triangle to triangle. Is this energy is saying both individuals was in that position. And since both of those individuals were in that position, and then sort of like the clash came when that no one's guilty again. So, you know, it's like a reiteration, like there's no guilty party. And that's interesting. Yeah, I'm seeing an X. So it's like the terrible things of one person and the terrible things of the other person, like they cancel each other out. And sort of like there's a null and void, because neither party like took that nastiness, I think, too far. And like what did spill out or whatever was quickly cleaned up. So that's like that's like the main thing that the energy wanted to really convey. I think like that's the main point, is no one is guilty. There's no guilty party. And I'm hearing no hard feelings at all. There's a lot of confusion. And some of the confusion is about nice things, like why, you know, but some of the confusion is this perception card. So, you know, like, let's look quickly looking at this. You know, what I'm seeing is like, you know, a shift in perspective and a grounding of information will make way for a synergy and a coherence and understanding that wasn't previously there. And so this whole reading, you know, this energy, it's like knocking at the back of my head, you know, is just to get you to shift your perspective a little bit, because the lack of communication ended up being well, you know, the lack of this, you know, the lack of communication really did end up like impacting everything. It just did. And so the miracle here is that this energy is like, I'm not, yeah, this energy is really banging out the back of my head, being like, I need to clear this up. So for whoever this is clearing things up for, your spirit guides really, really love you. And I'm hearing two beautiful, yeah. All right, so rebirth, love, one more. Yeah, see this rebirth and this love card. Well, I'm gonna get to it. And light. Bottom of the deck, we've got domesticity. So in closing, this is a forgiveness. Like this is one of these things where this energy is both saying forgive me and I forgive you. And Eros, love. Look, there's a, like, it seems like there's a new start. You know, the old story is done. That chapter ended. The book I'm hearing closed. But there's a resurrection of what like is meant to be conveyed. There's a resurrection of something. There's something new here. There's a new approach. There's a way of coming at this from a completely new place within oneself. And this energy is saying like the amount of remarkable change that both individuals have experienced night and day. This really is a death and rebirth. These are new, like, this is a new incarnation of you. This is a new incarnation of them. And again, like putting this old stuff to rest. Love and light. And I love how these kind of like, they're like reaching out towards each other. This entire, listen, this is what is coming through with this, and I'm going to close with this. Your guides, I'm not going to close with this. There's one other thing I'm going to do. Your guides love you so much. You know, you are such a loved person. And that's like an important thing that this energy wants to convey, that you are seen, that you are loved, and that's good enough. And that you are so loved that your guides wouldn't stop bothering me to do this reading, to make sure that you were like brought to a place of, you know, like there's the intention, like the energy was like, there's got to be, you know, an understanding and a healing here. There's too much, you know, love, you know, and there's too much in the way of what actually is like an innocence and a purity. And there is a reaching as well. So I'm going to just pull, I just forgot about this other deck that that Spirit called me to use, but, you know, that's basically where we're going to, I think, end this reading, is that there's a lot of effort that was put into just conveying that your understanding of things to a point where you feel like this energy is really, really wanting to create a space of open communication that has a healing quality. So that there isn't, you know, so it kind of cleans out, I don't know, we got Leo, the lover, and let's get one more. and love, Venus. So bottom of the deck, you have Cancer. So with these cards, it's not really about the astrological signs, it's the energy. So I'm just going to read these as like, this is the closing sort of statement of this reading. And so I'm just going to read these. So the bottom of the deck energy that is talking about this Leo-Venus combination is feeling sympathetic, comforting, nostalgic, protective, intuitive, birthing, tender, nocturnal, caring, moody, receptive, lunar, sentimental, introverted, defensive, and family-oriented. So that's the theme, you know, and what the theme, it like, you know, in closing, you know, the theme is sort of like a feeling of home. And, you know, to punctuate that theme, there's Leo, which is this really the energy here, and I'll read it. Expressive, creative, loving, playful, warm, overt, self-confident, flirtatious, glowing, bedazzling, extroverted, vital, guileless, egotistical, juicy, proud, trusting, excessive. My astrology, like I have a Leo moon. So yeah, it's just that this is a very loyal and loving energy. And the Venus energy is beauty, harmony, romance, charm, receiving, sensuality, luxury, wealth, diplomacy, magnetism, value, pleasure, adornment, adoration, attraction, indulgence, and taste. So those last couple cards, I think this is just about like, you know, kind of punctuating what's here with the like love and light. There's good energy, and this energy that has sort of been hounding me to like deliver this message. Yeah, this is an energy that really cares that you know that that you know this, that you just know this. And so that's where I'm going to leave it. And for whoever the person that this is resonating with, it might be more than one. I would, again, like that would kind of shock me because of how specific it is. But reading for collectives, I sort of know that like collectives do sort of move together like a school of fish. So maybe there are more people that are resonating with this than the one person. But to whoever this resonated with so strongly, you're so loved. I was so happy and honored to, you know, deliver the message, and just listening to see if there's anything else. I don't think so. Yeah, just clarity, just wanting to offer clarity in a respectful, yeah, this energy is like, you know, within a respectful framework. So all is well, and I hope that for whomever this resonated for, that the information ends up being really, really helpful. And that's where we're going to close the reading. It's probably super long, and it is. All right, thanks for listening.